Okay, so ready to get a little cosmic today.
Always up for some cosmic exploration.
Yeah, we're diving into the sometimes wild, sometimes weirdly accurate world of astrological compatibility.
Sounds fun.
So we're talking about those zodiac signs.
Mm.
Are they actually the secret code to figuring out if you and your partner are like meant to be?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to look at some of the like the surprising pairings that we found like are supposedly like really compatible.
Oh, interesting.
And then some of the ones that you might think are compatible, but that apparently are not so much.
Yeah, there are definitely some unexpected compatibilities in astrology.
Yeah.
Some that at first glance you wouldn't think would work, but actually have this really interesting synergy.
Right, exactly.
And then the opposite, some that seem like a match made in heaven, but when you look at the deeper astrological principles, you realize, there might be some challenges there.
So to set the stage a little bit, can you just give us a quick rundown? Like, what are we even talking about when we say zodiac?
Right. So the zodiac is basically a system of 12 signs, right?
Okay.
And each sign is associated with particular personality traits, strengths, weaknesses, and these are based on the position of the sun at the time of your birth.
Oh, okay.
So you've got your fire signs, your Aries, your Leos, your Sagittarius.
Yeah.
These are known for their passion, their energy.
They're the life of the party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you've got your earth signs, your Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. These are grounded, practical, reliable.
Okay.
Then you've got your air signs, your Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. These are intellectual, communicative, social. And then finally, you've got your water signs, your Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces.
Right.
These are known for their emotional depth, their intuition, their sensitivity. So, astrological compatibility is essentially looking at how these different signs interact with each other.
Gotcha.
Which ones have natural synergy and which ones might have some friction.
Right. So you're not just looking at like, okay, I'm this sign and they're that sign, and it's like a plus or a minus.
Yeah, it's definitely more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
It's about looking at the whole picture, how do these signs approach life? How do they communicate?
Right.
How do they handle their emotions?
And I know like a big part of this too is like the element, right?
Absolutely.
So you've got the fire signs, right?
Yep.
Which we talked about. They're like very passionate, very energetic.
Yes.
And then you've got earth, which is more grounded, more practical.
Exactly.
Then air, which is, like you said, intellectual, communicative.
Yep.
And then water, which is more emotional, more intuitive.
Right.
And so like those can either like clash or work together.
Yeah, it's all about how those elements interact.
Right. So for instance, fire and air signs, they tend to get along pretty well because they both have this kind of like, light, free-flowing energy.
Oh, okay.
They stimulate each other mentally.
Right.
But then fire and water signs, they can be a little bit more challenging because fire can sometimes be too overwhelming for water.
Oh, I see.
Water can kind of put out fire's flame, so to speak. So there needs to be a balance there.
And what about like earth and water?
Earth and water, they actually they can be a really beautiful combination because they kind of
Oh, really?
they complement each other.
Okay.
Earth provides like the stability, the structure that water sometimes needs.
Right.
And water brings emotional depth and nurturing to the earth sign.
That makes sense.
So they can really nourish each other.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah. It's like, think about a plant needing water to grow.
Right.
It's that kind of symbiotic relationship.
So, okay, so we've talked about the elements, right?
Yeah. But I know there's more to it than that, like the modalities, right?
Exactly.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what those are?
Yeah, so the modalities, they basically describe how a sign expresses its energy.
Okay.
So you've got 3 modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable.
Okay.
And each sign falls into one of these categories.
Gotcha.
So cardinal signs, they are the initiators. They're the ones who like to start things. They're very proactive. They're the leaders.
They're the ones who are like starting the projects and getting things going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then you've got your fixed signs.
Okay.
These are the stabilizers. They like to maintain things. They like routine. They're very determined.
They're the ones who are like seeing things through to the end.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you've got your mutable signs, and these are the adapters. They're flexible, they're go with the flow, they can kind of roll with the punches.
They're the ones who are like up for anything.
Exactly, exactly.
Wow.
So when you're looking at compatibility, you want to see how these modalities interact as well.
Okay, so give us an example of like how the modalities, like how they would affect a relationship.
Sure. So let's say you have a cardinal sign and a fixed sign together.
Okay.
Now, this can either be really dynamic and productive because, the cardinal sign brings the initiative, the
Yeah.
fixed sign brings the follow through.
Okay.
But it can also be challenging because, the cardinal sign might feel like the fixed sign is too rigid, too inflexible.
Right. They want to like shake things up a little bit.
Exactly, exactly.
And the fixed sign is like, nope, we're sticking to the plan.
Exactly. They like stability.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Whereas, if you have two mutable signs together, they might have a really easy time adapting to each other. They're both very flexible, but they might also lack a little bit of direction because neither one of them is really taking the lead.
Right. Right. Nobody's like taking charge.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's kind of like a balancing act.
Yeah, it's all about finding that balance.
Okay, so let's get into some of these specific pairings that I mentioned earlier.
Sure.
That we found that were kind of surprising. Starting with Gemini and Sagittarius.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic opposites attract kind of pairing.
Okay, so tell me about that. Like, why would those two be considered compatible?
So, Gemini and Sagittarius, they're both ruled by the element of air.
Right. Okay.
So they have this natural mental connection.
Okay.
They both love to learn, they love to communicate, they love to explore new ideas.
Gotcha. So they can just talk for hours.
Exactly. They can talk for hours, and they never run out of things to talk about.
Gotcha.
And they also both value their freedom and independence.
Okay.
So they're not the type to get too clingy or possessive in a relationship.
Right. They give each other space.
They give each other space,
Okay.
which is really important for both of these signs.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it's not just about, shared interests and needing space. It's
Right.
also about the way that they approach life.
Okay.
Gemini is very adaptable. They're mutable.
Right.
So they can kind of roll with Sagittarius's, more adventurous, sometimes impulsive nature. And Sagittarius, they bring a sense of optimism and expansion to Gemini, which can sometimes be a little bit scattered.
Oh, okay. So they kind of like balance each other out in a
They
way.
balance each other out, exactly.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a really fun pairing.
But couldn't that also like backfire?
How so?
Like if they're both so independent, like what if one of them wants to like travel the world or do their own thing?
Well, that's where, individual charts come in.
Right.
Because we're just talking about sun sign compatibility right now.
Right.
But in reality, everyone's birth chart is unique. So, for instance, a Gemini with a strong Taurus influence in their chart might actually crave more stability than a Sagittarius who has a lot of, Gemini placements.
Oh, okay.
So it's really important to look at the whole picture.
So it's not just like a guarantee.
No, it's not a guarantee.
It's just like a potential.
It's a potential, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like having a map, It gives you a general idea of the terrain, but it doesn't tell you exactly what you're going to encounter along the way.
Right. You still have to like navigate.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's talk about a pairing that maybe is a little bit more challenging.
Okay.
What about like Virgo and Pisces?
Virgo and Pisces, yeah, that's one that astrologers often say is a bit of a tricky combination.
Okay, so why is that?
Well, Virgo is very analytical, practical, detail-oriented. They like things to be, orderly and efficient.
Right.
Whereas Pisces is very dreamy, intuitive, emotional.
Right, they're kind of in their own world.
Yeah, they're very much in their own world.
Okay.
So, Virgo can sometimes see Pisces as being too spacey, too unrealistic. Right. And Pisces can see Virgo as being too critical, too uptight.
Okay, so they kind of like butt heads.
They can kind of butt heads, yeah.
Okay, so like what would you say to a Virgo who is like dating a Pisces or vice versa?
I would say, communication is key.
Okay.
You have to be really open and honest with each other about your needs
Right.
and try to understand where the other person is coming from.
Right, because like their needs are going to be very different.
Their needs are going to be very different.
Right.
Virgo needs to be patient with Pisces, more emotional nature.
Right.
And Pisces needs to, try to meet Virgo halfway in terms of, being a little bit more grounded and
It's,
practical.
so it's not like a hopeless situation.
No, not at all.
It's just like they have to like work at it a little bit more.
They have to work at it a little bit more.
Okay. Okay.
But, the thing is, with any relationship, whether the astrology is, quote unquote, good or bad, it really comes down to, the individuals involved
Right.
and their willingness to, to grow together and to work through challenges.
Right. Yeah.
Because every relationship is going to have challenges.
Exactly.
It's just, some might have different challenges than others.
And even like, some of those challenges can actually be like really good for you.
Exactly.
They can help you grow as a person.
They can help you grow. They can help you learn new things about yourself. They can help you, expand your perspective.
Right.
So it's not always about, avoiding challenges. It's about, how do you navigate them?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you use them to grow and to learn?
Exactly. And
Right.
astrology can be a really helpful tool for that.
Mm. Okay. So just to like kind of wrap things up here, what are some like key takeaways that you want our listeners to walk away with today?
Sure. I think, the biggest takeaway is that astrological compatibility is a lot more nuanced than just looking at your sun signs.
Right.
It's about looking at the whole picture, looking at the elements, the modalities, looking at, the individual charts of the people involved.
Right. Right. So don't just like write someone off because you read somewhere that your signs are incompatible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think another important takeaway is that, even challenging pairings can work
Okay.
if both partners are willing to put in the effort to understand each other and to communicate effectively.
Right. Right. It's not like a death sentence.
Not at all.
Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah, and even if you're not, even if you don't necessarily believe in astrology, I think there's still a lot of value in, in knowing your sign and understanding its strengths and weaknesses. Yeah.
Because it can give you a lot of insight into your own personality and your own relationship patterns.
Right. It's just like another tool for self-awareness.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So, I think that's a great place to wrap things up.
Sounds good.
So listeners, think about your own sign, how it plays out in your relationships, and maybe even peek at your partner's compatibility. Could be fun.
It's always fun.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, happy exploring!